Hey, we are live, Per, again, and we are. Thank you very much for joining me. And we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And welcome today. And I want to introduce Per. He's called as the Price Whisperer, and if you Google the word Price Whisperer, you will see him, his work, his articles, his so many podcasts, and his book, where you can learn a lot more about pricing and all that. So he's a thought leader, and I have read his articles, I have read his blogs, and I have learned a lot in the last 6 months of my reading about these blogs. Uh, Today, when we are talking about a very relevant topic, we are going through a very tough time, like across the world. We have war going on. We have inflation is there. Recession talk is going on for the last year or so, and it is increasingly getting uh, difficult for the businesses and the companies to survive. I'll give you an example. I just remember I was watching a podcast per a few days back. There's a podcast called All In Podcast where a couple of 4 billionaires come and talk. These guys were telling that if you take the example of Salesforce used to have a cost of acquisition, and they used to recover the cost of acquisition in 2 to 3 years time period, cost of acquiring the customer. Okay. And that was so much of a cost. Now, as we're going into the recession and it is getting difficult to get business, they were talking about that it is taking them now 7 to 8 years to recover the cost of acquiring a customer. It blew my mind, and I will send you this information, a few maybe where I read that, so that we can talk about that particular thing. But you understand, that kind of an acquisition, and when you have Apple coming up with iPhone privacy laws and all that. On top of that, the demand is going demand. There's an impact on demand and all that. So this episode, what we are recording, but we are going live with, is very important for the understanding. What do you think about how do companies cope up with these challenges like war, inflation, recession, and all that?
Yeah, well, first of all, you mentioned my book there, The Price Whisper, with a subtitle, "A Holistic Approach to Pricing Power." And just because this is live, I just want to mention that the intro price of 199 is for today. Tomorrow is going to be 14.95. So if you haven't bought it at this rock bottom price, please do so today, because tomorrow it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And the I just got word that the print version is going to be available in a few days as well at 24.95. So for those who want rather the print version. But I think we all as business leaders knows that whenever there's change in the marketplace, whenever there is that turbulence that we have, whether it's changes in technology, whether it's wars, whether it's inflation, whether it's recessions, whatever, there's always opportunities, and those who come up as survivors for in these survivors and stronger companies are those who can see those opportunities, and those that can leverage those opportunities in different ways, and it's it's obvious that you need to, as any company, you really need to have your ear to the ground when it comes to finding those opportunities, because they're not going to come to you. You're going to find them, right? And one of the absolute best way of doing it is really to understand what specific problems a marketplace, whether that's a B2B marketplace or a consumer marketplace, what specific problems they want to have solved and are willing to pay higher prices for than solving other problems. Because we all buy something because we have a problem to solve. I buy pens because I have a problem to solve. It, you know, in terms of writing with my finger doesn't work very well. That's a problem, right? So I buy something that solves that problem. And if you look at it from that perspective, and then really understand why 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 a certain problem can be solved for a higher price than another problem can be solved, and it's very interesting because I see in what we do appeals to people differently or appeals to companies, I should say, differently at different times. And specifically, we see that when there are turbulence in the market, when there are recessions, when there are inflation, when there are changes going on, that's when companies come out, to me, and those are the companies. Those are the companies who really understand that that these turbulent times means opportunity, and they need to understand how they can best leverage those opportunities. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk to you about, we have talked in the past, and I have understood how you have been able to improve or substantially, I should say, improve the revenue, sales, and profits of the companies, some
Yeah.
and even doubling the shareholder value in a matter of months. Now,
Yes.
without changing the cost structure. And why it is important, or why I'm asking this question, is I was reading an article a few days back that how volatile oil prices, how the supply chain disruptions have unsettled many companies, and how
Mhm.
they have increased the cost. And you have talked about in the past about how the cost plus benefit, anything doesn't work. So I'd like to have two questions answered here: cost
Sure.
plus, as well as how do you do these things without changing the cost structure, so that these things do not impact us that much.
Well, well, obviously, your prices need to be set with the cost in mind, but the cost should not drive the prices. Obviously, any company that has a wish to be profitable, and profits are good, right?
Yeah.
Any company who has a wish to be profitable need to price its product or services above its cost. And the obviously one very common mistake is that companies look at their cost and then they use some kind of margin uplift, and different industries have different uplifts. Old school manufacturing have an uplift of maybe 35 to sometimes 50%. Retail is 100%. High tech is typically 5%, or five times 500%. So it's all that's all good in terms of defending defending the case that you don't want to sell unprofitable products. And I mean, look at airlines. They were selling unprofitable airline seats for many years. And they
Yeah.
tried to make it up in volume, and the result was that they all went bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
um, so um, so cost should be a factor, right? But the cost of a product or a service really have nothing to do, or very little to do, I should say, with the benefit it delivers to the buyer, right? And it in some cases, you can substantially increase your prices because the value a company delivers to its customers is many times that sort of cost plus margin that we talked about, you know.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, just to give you an example, we did this is a company in the home theater space, um, and a small company, not really one of the market leaders, had revenues of about $12 million or thereabouts. And what they did, they got things. They had their product made in China, made to their specification. So they had some skin in the game here, and they simply took the landed cost of the product and doubled it, and that was their price.
Yeah.
And 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 um, and they were hoping that by doubling the price, doubling the cost, um, they had enough profit margin and dollar profit to do the kind of promotions and the kind of um, uh, product development and so forth that they thought was needed. But they were leaving massive amount of money on the table by doing so. And through the process that we use in my company, we could, and we're talking about a $12 million company here, so this is not huge. um, we um, we were able to give them advice that in the first year added $3.5 million as pure profit, right?
I agree.
And that means that suddenly they had more resources they could expand their product range, they could do more marketing and so forth. And now this particular company is many times the size it was,
Hmm.
despite a situation where the buying behavior has completely changed. When we did work with this company, people were sort of reluctant to buy home theater stuff online. Um, Now everybody buys it online. So, well, not everybody, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they have not changed their business model. You can't really buy their stuff online, and they're still many times the size they were.
Yeah, yeah,
Why they haven't changed their business model, that's a different story, but they haven't.
yeah.
So
So I want to ask you another thing, which is a dilemma for many CEOs these days. When these tough times come in and the costs have increased or costs have volatility and all that, so should I increase the price or should I decrease the price looking at that information? Or
no,
should
you
I?
should. I mean, if your cost increases, you have to obviously defend your margin. So you have to increase prices too, absolutely. But the question is how much? If your
Mhm.
cost goes up 10%, are you going to increase your prices 10%? Or are you going to take this opportunity to increase your prices 25%, right?
Okay.
And do you have the guts to do the latter? And how you need to, as a CEO, first of all, is very important, and this is unbeknownst, would you believe, to the majority of American CEOs, right? We did a research project a little while back where we asked a statistically significant number of American CEOs, um, how they looked at profitability, right? And if you just consider any company have a resulting profit that comes from three variables. It's the cost of operation, it's the sales volume of whatever you're selling, and it's the price of whatever you're selling. And we
Yeah.
asked these folks, which of these three affects profits the most? And 86% said sales volume, right? And this is crazy, because if you increase your sales, you are also increasing your cost, right?
Yeah.
And furthermore, companies are spending an enormous amount of resources on increased sales. They have, they have marketing, they have ad campaigns, they have salespeople, they have sales supporting software, and all different things, and they have product development to enhance product. I mean, they're spending a lot of resources on increasing cost, right? And then, sorry, on increasing sales, um, and and they're doing the best they can, right? And thinking that 86% of 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 CEOs here in the US believe that it is sales volume that is most effective in driving profitability is crazy, because it's pricing, right? Because pricing, you increase your price, it doesn't change your cost a bit, right? It's all in, but you need to have pricing power, and that's really important. And um, and pricing power is the ability to increase prices without losing sales volume. And in fact, in many cases, companies are so underpriced that they can increase prices and see an increase in sales volume,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. So,
Or maybe trade off, like, I think I may have mentioned this in the past. Um, I got this unsolicited email from a prior client, and it was a screenshot from his accounting system, and I could see that his sales volume was marginally down, like 5% or so. And but his margin was up 49%. And
well,
his message was very simple. He said, "Less work, more money, many thanks." Right?
yeah, no, definitely, and that helps. But I want to also ask one more thing from you. From when we are talking about the foundational strategies, and in my opinion, the first thing we need to look at as a CEO of the company is to whether I'm targeting the right customers. Apart from the
Hmm.
pricing, pricing is a number.
Hmm.
Whether I am offering something to the customer which the customer actually wants, and am I actually solving the problem they want it solved right now, right? Not,
Hmm.
and then I am also asking, are we marketing ourselves effectively? Because when you look at these higher cost of acquisition due to advertisements, due to the recession and all that, people are just holding on and they're not spending. What do you think, and how do you in your organization help CEOs? Actually, give me a couple of examples by, say, how did you help them with the marketing messages, or maybe
Yeah.
targeting the right customers and all that, or maybe customer segmentation or something like that.
Yeah. The I mean, just to, it's all about understanding what customer segment have a higher willingness to pay than other customer segments, and then translate that willingness to pay into a pricing strategy that makes sure you don't leave money on the table. And um, there is just to give you an example of a prior customer, we did some work. This is a health app, right? So it monitors how, not only how much you move, but also how you move, for example. So they can actually sense whether your movement means that you're getting sick, right? Um, and this was something that the company was marketing to elderly people, right? And because the app can predict the risk of falls and so forth. It has fencing, so if somebody get confused and go somewhere where they shouldn't go. It alerts people. But anyway, they were marketing this to elderly people, and very unsuccessfully, right? um, because these elderly people didn't think they had a problem. And what we found was that it was the children to those to those elderly people that were willing to pay really high prices for this. This company had gone to market with, I think, $4.99 a month or something like that to these elderly people, and had not much luck at all. Whereas the children to these elderly people that would buy the app on behalf of the elderly, they were willing to pay $50 a month
Yeah.
for the same thing, right? So just by targeting a different demographics in this case, could the company essentially 10x their prices
Yeah.
and see a higher sales volume as well, right? Because you targeting the right customers, right?
Yeah. And in these turbulent times, I think knowing your customer segmentations, and maybe you can find additional pockets of the market which you were neglecting in the past, right? So you know your market, and you can start marketing those things. Am I correct in my understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, your marketing, I mean, if you go back to the example there, your marketing messages, when you try to sell this to an elderly person, and your marketing message when you try to sell this to the child of an elderly person, are vastly different, right?
Yeah.
And the it's that difference that, as a company, you need to know. And you need to know not only what customer segment will have a higher willingness to pay, and therefore support higher prices, but also what marketing messages are most effective in driving demand, what marketing channels are most effective in driving demand, and again supporting higher prices than other marketing messages and channels, and so forth. And the same thing, and this is, I mentioned the in the beginning here about my new book, that talk about the holistic approach to pricing power. And the holistic approach means that you understand your customer segmentation, that you understand how your marketing affects willingness to pay, that you understand how product features and functions drive higher willingness to pay than other features, functions, and benefits. That you understand sales channels, and how different sales channels and methodologies drives differences in willingness to pay, and how you can stratify your pricing, stratify your pricing strategy in such a way that sales frictions are minimized, and revenues and resulting profits are maximized, right? That's
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
that whole enchilada, right? You can't
Yes.
see, and we talked about this in the last episode here, on how JC Penney shot themselves in the foot, right?
Yeah.
Because they hired the guy who ran Apple's stores, and he came in there, and um, kind of on the first day, um, instigated the same policies, the Apple's pricing policies, which is high prices, no discounts, right? And sort of value selling,
Mhm.
whereas JC Penney's customers are attracted by low prices, by discounts, and by specials. So he took away all the stuff that attracted the customers to the store. And in just a couple of months, I think they lost like 60% revenue. And
Yeah.
he almost killed the company until the board kicked him out, right?
Yeah.
And you have to realize that pricing power is something that you earn.
Yeah. So I would, since we are live on Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, I cannot see. Uh, so if you can leave your questions for Per, please type in the questions. I can see it and speak about that, and then Per can answer. So please ask your questions if you have any, or maybe later when you are, if you are reviewing or going through the recorded version, you can reach out to me at Sandeep at smbcapitalpartners.com, or uh, you can just Google the Price Whisperer, and you can find Persephone there. There's only one in the world. Yeah.
There's only one price whisperer in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, and then you can reach out to him, and we are available on LinkedIn all the time, and we can answer your questions, meet you, and solve your challenges right now, and prepare you for this these turbulent times we are facing right now. And the situation is, in my opinion, as I'm following these economy things very closely, is going to be difficult, more difficult in 2023. And this is the right time to plan for next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Any questions, I
no,
think?
no, thank you very much, Per. Thank you for your time. And I will repost this as a recording very soon. And people should be able to reach out to us if they have any questions. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much for the invitation, Sandeep, and for the audience here. I hope you found some value in the conversation. So
Thank you. Bye.
all right.